Oh, hey there, friends. So in the category of I thought I saw everything I could see in the music business or in my job as a singer, songwriter, producer, recordist, whatever, I've now struck a new plateau because I'm getting ready for a session. I'm recording some old songs that never got recorded and some old songs that I wasn't really happy with back then and from my first couple albums. I just didn't think that these were just a few that didn't get represented the way I wanted them to at that point in my career. And I wanted to have a record of how they were intended to be. So I'm going in to record just guitar vocal, live guitar vocal of 14 songs. And I've been rehearsing them and working on the arrangements and the keys and what have you, as you should do, pretty steadily for a few weeks now. So the session is tomorrow. And last night, I was like, okay, I got this all down. I got the lyrics, everything's together. Let me restring the acoustic that I'm going to use on this session, because the strings, they just got, because it's so humid here, they got a little danky and weren't, they were a little hard to play. They weren't that old, but, they were smudgy and not as snappy and bright as they could be. And I don't necessarily like super bright acoustic strings. We could talk about that some other time. There was a point in my career where I was using nickel strings. But for now, we're talking about phosphor bronze. And so I have my little trusty, this is my Sinkerwood. I'll try to get without the glare. This is my Sinkerwood OM from Martin. It's a really great sounding guitar. I was very lucky to get it. And so I'm like, okay, let me change the strings. So I cut all the strings off and I go to restring it. And this is something I never came across in my career. And I've had Waverly tuners many times in the past, right? You see the gear? And there's a screw that goes in the gear that holds the gear into the post. The screw for this one was missing. Also, the washer for that screw was missing. So I crawled all over on the floor. It was doubtful it was going to be here because I vacuumed about a week ago, but I also don't know when it fell off. I never had this happen. So this is why you've got to be well prepared and be able to pivot at a moment's notice. And thankfully, I did this last night and not today, because the session's tomorrow. So I was like, oh my God, I did look for it, but it isn't here. So then I wrote to Martin, I said, emergency, I have a session on Thursday. What do I do? They're like, oh, well, this is the screw you need, but they only sell them in sets, all of the tuners. So I could have bought a new set for, let's see, it would have been about $400 here. And I didn't want to do that. But they gave me some wonderful recommendations of people to reach out to here. Sorry for the noise in the background. I have to have the windows open. It's so bloody hot. So I reached out to a bunch of people, and Chandler Guitars, who I've worked with in the past, I bought an amp from them. They used to work on my guitars when they were closer. I didn't realize they were still in business. They just moved several towns over to an easier venue for them, less expensive venue, which you can understand. So I talked to them. He thought he could put together some parts to help me out. And then there was another retailer, builder person here. John JP was amazing, and he's FedExing me out some parts. But I didn't want to, take the chance. So I got on the train and went out to Chandler. And he got me, he actually had a screw that was the right, width, whatever. You can tell that I'm not a mechanical dude, but the right thread. But it was too long, so we cut it down. I brought him an example of the right screw and cut it down exactly. He got me a washer that was the right width. It wasn't exactly the right size, but the right width. And boom, as you'll notice, it's black as opposed to the silver, but it works, and I will be able to do the session. Point is, you never know what's going to happen. You got to know your tools. I'm glad I checked, but I should have known. And I should have been tightening these screws regularly, so be aware. And I got lucky. I got lucky again that it was last night, not today, that I did this. So I could go somewhere and get it so I could string it up. I'll also have a backup arriving just before the session tomorrow morning, and I'll be able to do this. But you never know. Know your tools, have backups, have extra parts, and be able to pivot and move on a moment's notice, or you could be in a hole. And I would have been in a big hole because the session's paid for. So what would I do? So anyway, the Martin's coming with me. It's ready to go. Not quite in tune yet, but it's getting there. I'm going to stretch the strings a little more. Let me know your little horror stories from last second, things that go wrong. I'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching.